Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Wildcat Watch Live. Today is Thursday, March 1st, 2012. I'm Kristen Goberg.
I'm Mimo Cricchio.
I'm Willie Annan.
And I'm Matt McCarthy. So, little known factor on Villanova's campus this past week. Wildcat had his birthday party on Monday. What do you guys feel about that?
That's an amazing thing. You know, I heard it's the big Ocho Cinco for him. Wow.
I guess it would depend on the whole feline leap years thing, but I wonder if he got any good presents. You know, one thing I know he loves to hear about is men's and women's basketball. So, Kristen, I think you're going to tell us about that, right?
He does indeed, Mimo. Thank you. The men's basketball team traveled down I-95 to the nation's capital to take on the number 9 Georgetown Hoyas last Saturday afternoon at the Verizon Center. Coming off a tough loss to UConn in overtime just days before, the Wildcats were eager to contend for a win, but came up short, losing 46-67 to the Hoyas. Plagued by injuries during the later half of the season, with James Bell, Javon Pinkston, and Malik Waynes all missing games, the Wildcats were hopeful that the addition of Waynes back into the lineup would spark an offense. Unfortunately, junior Dominique Cheek led the Wildcats instead with 19 points, while Muftai Yaru grabbed 7 rebounds on the night. With Malik playing for the first time in 2 weeks, he struggled to perform at his typical high-level play, scoring just 3 points. Georgetown's impressive defense held the Wildcats to low scoring for most of the first half, but the Cats were able to pull within 4 close to halftime until a Hoya three-pointer extended their lead at the break, 30-23. With the loss, the Wildcats fall to 11-17 overall and 4-12 in conference play. Looking ahead for the men's team, they continue Big East play tonight against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights at the Rack in Piscataway, New Jersey at 9 p.m., and then face off against the Cincinnati Bearcats this Saturday at the Pavilion. After the game, the Wildcats will await the announcement of their first-round opponent in the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden starting Tuesday, March 6th. Be sure to tune in to 89.1 WXVU for all of your Villanova basketball coverage, as our own Chris Herring will be broadcasting all the games. Good luck in the tournament, Cats. The women's basketball team went 1-1 in Big East play this past week, first losing to number 20 St. John's Red Storm on Saturday, 49-69, then picking up a win against the Syracuse Orangemen on Monday senior night for the Cats. First up, the Wildcats struggled offensively against the Red Storm, shooting only 35.6% from the field and 31.8% from behind the arc. Villanova senior Lindsey Kimmel led her team with 11 points, and redshirt freshman center Emily Lear contributed 10 points off the bench. Although the Wildcats were out-rebounded by the Red Storm 38-19 and allowed 4 Red Storm players to reach double-digit scoring points, the girls bounced back quickly from the loss, dominating Syracuse 68-60 on senior night at the Pavilion just 2 days later. In the first half, the Wildcats silenced the Syracuse defenders, shooting 48.1% from the field and draining 10 three-pointers. Villanova would go on to shoot 14 three-pointers on the night, with 80% from downtown. Senior Lindsey Kimmel went 5 for 5 from three-point land in the first half, and she scored a season-high 16 points, with junior Laura Sweeney following with 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Sweeney moved into 12th place on Villanova's all-time scoring list with 1,084 points. Villanova's record now stands at 16-13 overall and 6-10 in conference action. With regular season play wrapping up, the Wildcats will start Big East tournament play against Seton Hall tomorrow, March 2nd at 6 p.m. Villanova enters the tournament seeded number 10, while Seton Hall stands at number 15 in the tournament, and we wish the Wildcats good luck. Now over to Mimo for baseball news.
Thank you, Kristen. This past weekend, the baseball team was in Norfolk, Virginia to take on Norfolk State in a 3-game series. It was the last warm-up for the team before entering the main portion of their 2012 season, and boy did they make a statement, winning the series by a combined score of 20-6. The pitching staff was the big story in the season opener, as sophomores Pat Young and Matt Lengel held off the Spartans' bats, leading Villanova to a 2-1 win. Young carried the Wildcats with a career-high 9 strikeouts in 7 innings, while Lengel notched his first career save, pitching 2 scoreless innings to close out the game. Meanwhile, sophomore Connor Jones got Villanova on the board with a sac fly to center, and then went ahead with junior Tyler Shaka's bunt that brought in senior pinch runner Jordan Zek. That excitement carried into Saturday afternoon, where the pitching once again carried the day for Villanova. Junior Steven Ostapek pitched a 4-hit shutout for the Wildcats, retiring 27 of 32 batters and registering 12 outs on the ground en route to a 1-0 win. The lone run of the game came in the top of the 8th when Tyler Shaka hit a 2-out single into left field, bringing in senior Matt Fleischman to win the game for Villanova. So, after 2 stellar performances by the pitching staff, it seemed only logical that the bats for Villanova would come to life in the series finale, right? Enter Sunday afternoon, where the Wildcats erupted with a 12-run second inning in which 16 batters made it to the plate before the side was retired. Senior Kevin Wager led an offensive assault on Norfolk State, tying a Villanova record of 6 hits in one game while scoring 4 runs and batting in 5 more. In addition to Wager's 4 singles and 2 doubles, Tyler Shaka and senior Marlon Calby had 3 hits and 3 RBIs each. All this and more contributed to a 17-5 shellacking of the Spartans to earn Villanova the series sweep. The team will play next on March 2nd in Port Charlotte, Florida, against Chicago State in the Snowbird Baseball Classic. Also in baseball news, junior Steven Ostapek received both Big East and Philadelphia Big Five Pitcher of the Week honors for his performance in the 1-0 win, while Kevin Wager received Big Five Player of the Week for his performance on Sunday. In addition, the entire team received Team of the Week honorable mention from College Baseball Insider, and head coach Joe Gaudry notched his 263rd victory, moving him into second place on the team's all-time win list. Congratulations on a great week, boys. Nothing to report this week on the softball team. However, they will be in action tomorrow at 4 and at 6:15 p.m. when they take on both Central Michigan and Central Arkansas. The team will be playing all week during break in Clearwater, Florida as part of the USF Under Armour Invitational. Our own Chris Herring caught up with senior pitcher Caitlin De La Hara to gather her thoughts on the year so far. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, guys. I'm standing here at the Villanova University softball field with starting pitcher for the Villanova Wildcats, Caitlin De La Hara. Caitlin, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thanks.
Let's cut to the chase. You had a 3.33 ERA last year, 145 strikeouts. What is your mindset on matching or even improving those numbers this year?
I think the most important thing is that we win more games this year, because I think personal statistics tend to come with wins. So I think everyone on our team would love to improve their statistics if they could, but I think that we're trying to focus more on the team aspect of things, especially bringing in a new assistant coach. I think that he's going to focus on the smaller things and help us reach our goal, which is ultimately to make it to the Big East tournament.
Now, as a starting pitcher, you obviously have a very intricate arsenal. So why don't you go a little bit into what specific pitches you use during a typical game and what pitches you go to specifically when you're faced with a tough situation?
Well, softball is a little different than baseball in terms of what kinds of pitches we throw. For example, like our curveball isn't off speed, so a lot of pitchers go, when we throw east to west, we throw curveballs and screwballs. So a curveball goes away from a righty and a screwball goes towards a righty. And those are the pitches I use the most often. And then in strikeout situations, I tend to go either up or down, which would be a rise or a drop ball. But if I'm in trouble, I'm mostly a screwball pitcher, so I would throw a pitch going towards a right-handed batter or away from a left-handed batter.
Now, the softball team had a very difficult year last year. You're well aware of that, and Coach DiBernardi is aware of that as well. What is her message to you guys as you enter into this spring season?
I think it's all about moving forward. We made some changes in the offseason. Like I said, we got a new assistant coach who has changed a lot of things for us, especially the girls who have been here for 4 years and have been starters for 4 years. We really want to end on a high note, and I think that Coach Morrow is going to be that key for us. He's focused on the fundamentals and the basics of the game, which you tend to get away from with the higher levels you play. Some things become more important than that, and really going back to the basics is going to be key for us, and I think doing the little things will help us achieve the bigger things.
All right, Caitlin, thank you so much for spending time with us for a great interview.
No problem. Thanks so much. Go Wildcats.
Fantastic. Caitlin De La Hara, starting pitcher for the Villanova Wildcat softball team. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Chris, for that wonderful interview, and good luck this week, ladies, down in sunny Clearwater. Now over to Willie for an update on lacrosse and tennis. Willie, over to you.
Thanks, Mirla. The men's lacrosse team faced Bucknell University this past Saturday in a game that was filled with fireworks. Nova pulled off the win 13-12 in overtime with the game-winning goal scored on a wraparound shot by senior Kevin Cunningham. Junior Jack Rice helped propel the Cats to the W as he assaulted the Bison with 6 goals. Next, the Cats competed in the top 20 showdown versus the Drexel Dragons this past Tuesday. The number 8 Wildcats topped the number 18 Dragons by a score of 14-9. The men sprung ahead to a 6-0 first-quarter lead to burn the Dragons. Junior Will Castorano led the team with 2 goals and 3 assists, while senior goalie Dan Gutierrez made 11 saves. The Wildcats are now 19-3 at home at 3 at home since the 2009 season. Hopefully, our men can continue this dominance on the field. In women's lacrosse, the women's lacrosse team traveled last Thursday down the road to the first state to take on the Fighting Blue Hens of Delaware. Unfortunately, our women could not pull off the win as they fell to the Hens by a final score of 11-7. Justine Denodio led the Lady Cats with 2 goals and 1 assist. Our women also took on the Princeton Tigers on the 25th. The Wildcats could not tame the Tigers as the ladies fell by a final score of 16-3. Freshman Jackie Fricaro showed off her skills and posted the hat trick and scored 3 goals in a game where the team was outmatched and overpowered. And the men's and women's tennis teams were both inactive during the last week. Up next for the men's team is the Pacific Coast Doubles Championships, which started March 2nd. Up next for the women's team is a match versus Florida Gulf Coast on March 3rd. And now over to Matt with track and water polo.
Thanks, Willie. The women's water polo team journeyed out to Princeton this past weekend for the second time this season. At the meet, the Wildcats faced some stiff competition while going against George Washington, Harvard, Bucknell, and host Princeton University. Unfortunately, the Cats were not able to pull out a victory, falling to 0-11 on the season. On Saturday, the Wildcats took on George Washington, where Villanova fell to the Colonials 15-7. Hannah Ashida led the scoring for the Wildcats by netting 3 goals and 2 assists in the match. Next up for the Wildcats was Harvard, where the Cats were defeated 15-1. Elaine Resso was the only one able to find the back of the net for Villanova in their matchup with the Crimson. Nova then took on Bucknell, where they were able to outscore Bucknell 4-3 in the final quarter, but were unable to overcome a 6-goal deficit and fell to the Bisons 11-6. In the final match of the weekend, Villanova took on the undefeated Princeton Tigers. Villanova turned in an impressive performance, scoring 7 goals on the Tigers, which matched the second highest total for the Wildcats this season. An upset was not in the cards, however, when Princeton pulled away and finished the game up 11-7. Next up for the Wildcats will be the Siena St. Bernards on March 3rd. The men's and women's track team finished up their fall season with the Big East Championships this past weekend. The men's team won the conference title in the 4x800 meter relay and had 3 individual all-conference performances on the day. The 4x8 relay was won by Samuel McEntee, Samuel Ellison, Chris Troyalt, and Brian Fitzsimmons. This quartet was able to finish the thrilling race less than 1 second ahead of second-place Notre Dame. The 3 individual all-Big East performers came in the 3,000 meter. Junior Matthew Mildenhall came in 3rd in the race with a time of 8 minutes and 4 seconds, and was followed closely by Ryan Sheridan and Hugo Beamish, who finished 5th and 7th respectively. Overall, it was a good day for the Wildcats, who found themselves placing 4th overall. The women's team also turned in an impressive performance at the championships. Villanova saw its own Emily LaPerry win the individual Big East title in the 1,000 meter race. LaPerry also anchored the Wildcats' championship-winning 4x800 relay. Joining LaPerry on the winning team were Stephanie Shepard, Nikki Akande, and Arian Newts. This marks the second consecutive year where the Wildcats were able to capture both the 1,000 meter and 4x800 relay championships. Altogether, the women's finished 3rd overall for the Big East. And that does it for us today. And everybody out there watching, have a great and safe spring break. And as always, stay Wildcats.